This video tutorial will introduce you to the power of the VLOOKUP function and how to use it for everyday business purposes. So let's take a look at our sheet here. Our company has 5 work groups, FICOR, Kringa, Gencall, etc., and each group has so many employees in it. Now each group was given a training priority code, and the codes go from 1 to 9, and the code represents how important training is to a particular work group. So for example, Zysol, which has a training priority of 8, deserves a lot more money because they're mission critical. They need the money more than any of the other departments. So what we need to do is find a training budget. So the company offers a training budget per person, so much money for each of these 43 people, and we need to figure it out. Now it just so happens we have a table over here. And we're all used to looking at tables, looking at values in it to find something. So for example, at a store there's a discount table, you find the price, you see the discounted price. Maybe you're at a train station, you're trying to look for a fare, you want to go to zone 5, it costs you $375. So we're used to looking up things in a table all the time. And it just so happens that most tables are presented vertically, up and down. There are some tables that go horizontally, left or right. So I'll introduce you to the vertical function. So let's do this. Here's what we need to do. We need to find this training priority code for FICOR 3 in this table here. And once we find the 3, we want to look up this rate, which is $210 per person. And we want that number over here. So the simple calculation would be $210 times the number of employees. So it's that much times 43 people, and the total budget is $9,030. But obviously you wouldn't use 210, you would click on this cell, which is H14 times 43 people, and it's the same number. Now the next one is going to be a code 5, so we find 5 and it'll be $375, and the way you would do it is equal this times this, and you would continue on. Now obviously that is not a right way to do it, because if you had, we only have 5 groups here, but what if you had 5,000 employee names? You're not going to go and pick individually for each one, and that causes a problem for 2 reasons. One is this code might change. What if I change that to a 4? You have to go in here to pick the new amount and change that to a 295. Or what if these amounts change here? You have to go and find all the changes and make the changes. Obviously we don't want to do that. So I'm going to introduce you to a thing called VLOOKUP. And the function starts like this: equal sign, VLOOKUP, bracket. Now that has to be exactly like that, and this bracket is actually going to close at the very end, and there are no additional brackets in between. Now inside the brackets are 3 parts separated by commas. The first part is you have to tell Excel what you're looking for. In this case we're looking for this code, C5, right? Whatever the code might be, it'll be in C5, comma. Second part is, where are we looking? Excel has no clue where your table is. So we are looking in fact inside here. Now we don't want to highlight the headings because the headings are just for display purposes, right? So we want to highlight this table. Now notice what I'm doing. Out of habit, I'm highlighting the whole table. So what it's going to do is it's going to find this code somewhere in here, but it better be in the first column. So whatever you're looking for has to be in the first column, which in our case it is, comma. Now here's the last part. We told it what we're looking for, C5. We told it where we're looking. Now you have to tell it that once it finds the code 3, do you want this number, do you want this number, or do you want this number? So that's the first, the second, the third. Well, we want the second number, so we have to put comma 2. So it's a second column. The table has 3 columns in it. We want the second column. When we do training hours per person, we're going to put comma 3 because we want the third column. Now if I press enter, based on the code 3, I should get a value of $210, which is correct. This entire thing represents $210. Now the thing is, what do you want to do with that $210? You want to multiply it by 43. So $210 per person times the number of people. And you could do anything. You could add, subtract, divide, multiply after the VLOOKUP. Now let's press enter, and we get $9,030. Now here's the cool part. If I change this code to a 4, obviously it's going to change this number because now it's using $295. If I change this to $295 to something else, it of course will change this. Now let's see if we can copy this down. Obviously it's not going to work. So take a look what happens. Right now Excel is using what you call dynamic cell referencing. Dynamic means move as you copy. So when I copy this down, the C5 is going to change to a C6, then C7, C8, C9. And the B5 is going to change to a B6, B7, B8, B9. But this part here, see between the commas, that part represents this entire box. That is also going to shift down as you copy. It's going to become G13, G14, G15. Have a look. See? The whole box shifts down. By the time you get way down here, the box is shifted so far that it's not going to find some of your values. So that obviously is not going to work. So we need to change some parts of this from dynamic cell referencing to absolute cell referencing. So C5, leave it alone. We do want that to be dynamic. We want it to change to C6, C7, C8. The B5, we want it to be dynamic. It will change to B6, B7, B8. But this part here, we don't want it to change. That represents this box. So simple rule. In every single VLOOKUP, highlight what is between the commas and press F4. Now what F4 does, it puts a lot of dollar signs in, and those represents glue. So in fact, we are gluing this box in place, called absolute cell referencing, not dynamic, absolute. So when we copy down, the C's will change, the B's will change, but this part will not. So let's have a look. I'll copy this down. Now take a look. This box is exactly where it should be. By the time I get down here, the box does not move. And that's a great demonstration of how to use absolute cell referencing, but you have to inside of VLOOKUP. So take some time, see what we've done here. The VLOOKUP rarely changes. It's about the same length usually. But what we do after it makes the difference, okay? So let's do downtime quickly. VLOOKUP, we're looking for this code, comma, where? Inside here, comma. When you find it, which column do you want back? First, second, or third? We want the third one back. Now don't forget, highlight what is between the two commas and press F4. Now this, obviously with the code 4, is going to give us the number 25. What we need to do is multiply that by the number of people that we have in this case. So it's 25 hours per person. We can copy that down. And that's a great demonstration of what a VLOOKUP is and how powerful it can be. Now here's an additional bit of information that might come in handy for you. It's not always necessary, but in case you're having trouble getting the VLOOKUP to work, this is something to consider. So right now we did our VLOOKUPs and they work, right? We look up the value in this table and then do something with it. Now there's a difference between wanting to find the exact match. So for example, for FICOR, the training priority code is 3. Do you want to find the exact 3? Or is it possible to have a training priority score of between 3 and 2 or 3 and 4, like 3.5, 3.6, like that? So if you ever get into that situation, try this. Or at the least, it doesn't hurt to do this. What you would do is inside your VLOOKUP, after this 2 that you put in here, you put a comma and then the word false. Okay? Now, press enter. We'll copy that down. It doesn't change anything for you because you are finding an exact match. I'll do the same thing over here, right? After this number, put an extra comma and the word false. Now what that does is it forces Excel to find the 3 in an exact way, the exact number 3. Now there is an option, and you can do this in the future, is you can put true, and true allows for not exact matches. For example, if the number was 3.3 or 3.2, and then it goes either down to 3 or up to 4. Okay, now that's a little bit dangerous. It's always recommended that if the value you are looking for here is going to be in between, you don't want Excel to round up if it's 3.5 and round down if it was 3.4, right? You want to have every possible score in this table over here in the first place. So I'm going to put the word false back. So it doesn't hurt to put the word false after the third comma. Try it. If it works without the false, no problem. But if you need to put the false to make it work, go ahead and do it.